you'll open RStudio, and this is what you see. You see a console window that will be filling the left side of your total window, and it's similar to MATLAB the MATLAB Works console or command window. So for example, I can type an equation a is equal to 2 plus 2, and I get the result for a. So it's I can input individual commands in this window. If you noticed, the global environment window now displays this value. I can also do something like I can create a matrix. A is equal to 2 square brackets now. 2 and 3. Actually, that didn't work. I'm going to hold off on that. So, individual commands. The global environment window displays all the data that's now in workspace at any time. That data could have been created through commands, but it can also be loaded in. So let's load in a data set that I have in your window. So under RStudio features, I have a data set, data with inputs and targets. So we can select that data. If you notice, it has to be a CSV, comma separated values file. It's possible to load Excel files into RStudio, but CSV is better. But Excel files can be converted to CSV always. So when you'll get an input file window. If there are headers in that file, which I have in this case, you'll select yes. If not, then select no. And these are all kind of default values. We'll import that. And I can give it a name. I'm going to just call this, I'll call it DF for data frame. Import that. And now I have a data frame, DF, that has this value, and if you notice, the data frame is now displayed in the upper left hand window. I can always display that data frame through selection of this matrix button, and so I have the data frame now displayed. It's kind of cool. You can see all the observations rows are associated with the columns and the column names. So the data frame not only owns the data, but it also owns the labels that define what that data is. Okay? So the global environment permits that. Global environment also enables you to save whatever data is in your workspace, kind of like MATLAB. If you do that, so I'm going to get to training curriculum. It permits you to save your data to so I can save it. Let's do it. And I can save it as output, whatever name I want to have it. I'll save it. And now when I go to that directory, I now have a data file, or a data file, that I can load in later. So if I clean up my workspace, my environment, I'll remove all the objects. Now I can load back in that data with this load command. So I have that data back. Pretty easy to do. That explains the upper right hand window. History, there's a history tab. So every file that you every command you've previously used will be archived here. So you could always access a previous command that you've used. So example view. Oops, I didn't copy that correctly. Anyway, you can access a command you've already used. So for example, a is equal to 2 plus 2. Okay, to copy that, it's not letting me do that. Okay, forget that one. Let's go to the upper left-hand window. So we can, primarily what you would be doing here is establishing and creating new files. So we can go File, New File, and let's go RScript. So now if I wanted a command like a2, I could enter that here and run it. And if you notice, if I go back to, I can go b equal 2. If I select that, the 2 lines, all the lines, I can go Control A. I can run all the lines, and I get both of them putting data into the workspace. Got it? Although I have to, so in R, it's not typical to use an equal sign to create new variables. The normal way is to use the arrow command. So an arrow with a dash. You get the same result, but it doesn't work if you have data frames. So we get the same result, but basically it says we're moving the number 2 into a data element, in this case a constant called b. Alright? I can save my data frame. I can save it as some file, the script file. I can save it as some file that I'm able to use later. Okay? So I can select and hit run. Run is the primary command that you'll be using. Alright, let's go to the bottom right window. If you notice, there are a number of buttons, tabs. So we can go to the File tab, and I'm going to ask you to try to get to the folder that you want to be using for this class. So I'm going to find the folder that I want to use for this training session. Google Drive, data mining, training, 460, and I'm going to get into this directory, and I'm going to also set this working directory, to this folder. And if I want this to be my default working directory, I can set it through the tools command. Back up, set this through the tools command, and this asks you to browse and find your default directory. Data mining. Oops. Data mining, training curriculum, ME460, and I'm going to let this be my default directory. So every time I come into RStudio, I'm going to land here. Got it? So now when I hit the save command, save environment command, it's going to write whatever data I have in the workspace into this default directory. You can also load in script files. So for example, if I had saved this as RStudio features, I could say first script. I'll save it, and under topics, oops, RStudio features, I now have a file called first scripts. I can delete this. I can now load it in by just selecting it in the Files window. Got it? Any plots that we eventually do will be located here. After you do a plot, run a command and present a plot, it will be here. We can always export those plots as an image or PDF file. Really important tab is the Packages tab. And so one of the key features with R and RStudio is that it's open source, and people are providing access to packages that exist all over. And so, for example, there's a package called ggplot, or there's a package called GoogleViz. So let's just install a package. I'm gonna install this package called GoogleViz. We'll install it, and it's installing. And ultimately, if I wanted to use that package in a script file or from the command line, I have to type library GoogleViz. And if you notice, R does a nice job of auto-completing anything that you're typing in. If I run that line, R is case sensitive. There we go. Select it, load it in, hit run. Now I'm able to use that tool. So many packages accessible to you. One of the nice things about R is that you can load in these packages, implement single line commands, and have those commands do a whole lot for you. Moreover, there's tons of applications and examples. So if, for example, in Google, I typed in GoogleViz, I'm going to see GoogleViz examples. I can load that in. I can see examples of line charts, bar charts. So, for example, I can copy that line. People are putting that in. Copy that line, run it. I have a new data frame. Click on it. I have something pretty simple. And if I wanted to just have a line chart, I could just copy the code in. But let's do a bar chart instead. So I'll copy the code in, run it. Notice single line command does all the work. All we're having to do is plot it. So in fact, the plot goes to the web, and you could easily share this, provide this link to anybody in the world, and they'd be able to access your plot real time. Only for a day, unless you store it someplace. Okay? Anyway, it's kind of the beginning of what we're going to be doing with packages. You're going to be installing some packages that make your job a lot easier downstream. Anyway, those are the features of all the windows in R, and hope you got that down. I'm going to clean out my workspace, save this recording.